Ladies and gentlemen, meet the brand new BMW 1250 RT. This bike is the definition of a touring bike, and BMW has just added about 50 more cc's to the horizontally opposed boxer engine. So the question is, how well does this ride on the road, and how comfortable is it if you're planning to go from, let's say, Maine to Miami? And coming up in this video, we're going to find out. Check it out, you've of course got different kinds of drive modes, so let me switch it from road to dynamic to rain, and of course that changes the ABS settings, the dynamic stability control that BMW does, so that the bike hopefully knows that you're on the road and helps you stay on the road versus going off the road.
So there's 4 elements that you change every time you switch between modes. Right. So in the case of this bike, anti-lock brakes actually stays the same between all the modes, but traction control changes as you go through, so it will relax. It'll allow you to either have really restrictive wheel spin or to allow a little bit of drift as you get up into the more aggressive modes. It also changes the stiffness of the suspension, so how much compression, damping, or rebound that you feel as you ride, and finally adjust throttle response. So the rain mode, for example, everything is tuned for a low traction surface, so it's all very smooth as you roll on the throttle and accelerate, and braking is very aggressive, and ABS is very aggressive, and traction control is very aggressive. As you move to road and to dynamic, everything loosens up. The throttle response gets more snappy, and the traction control allows a little bit more drift, and the suspension gets stiffer.
Will the bike actually know if you're, say that the steering angle is different than where the bike is going? Because on an automobile, stability control will actually help you stay on the road. Will the bike do the same thing?
Yeah, in this case, with this bike, the traction control works based on lean angle.
Okay.
So the bike is reading how aggressively you pitch the bike into a turn, and it's adjusting itself accordingly. It's also reading your throttle response and your braking, and it's making adjustments based on that as well. So is your ABS. ABS and traction control both reading these elements.
What's new, of course, it's the power plant. This boxer engine with horizontally opposed pistons is what BMW has always been known for. And now BMW has increased the power to 106 pound-foot of torque and about 136 horsepower. And they've done so using what they're calling shift cam. It's basically variable valve timing. And it allows this engine to have a little bit more torque down low, and perhaps most importantly, get a little bit cleaner for the upcoming European emissions regulations. It's all good stuff, especially since we now have a more powerful RT. The most luxurious features, I think, of this bike, besides the fact that it's got both heated grips right here, heated grips, a heated seat. Let me show you that. Heated seat is right there. 3 settings, 1, 2, 3. Here are these 2 little cubbies. A great place to keep your key. There's one on this side, and of course there's another cubby over here on this side, which has your USB port.
Someone made a good point, a phone won't fit in here.
Yeah, it is kind of tight for a phone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you'd want to charge, but,
yeah, but it doesn't.
Ain't happening.
No, that will not fit. Let me try mine.
Maybe a Motorola flip phone might fit in there. Maybe.
No.
But then you need space for the charge cable too.
Yeah. Same problem. Doesn't work. Yeah. This RT is a big bike. It weighs 270 plus kilograms, over 600 pounds. It also has a 25-liter fuel tank, enough for about 250 miles of range. But when you're touring across the country, you want comfort, and this bike provides it. Not only do I have heated grips, a heated seat, and a windscreen that raises to enclose me in a beautiful pocket of, well, dryness today because it was rather wet on the road, but I also have a bike that just loves to go down the road. Now, does it love to dance? In other words, is this a canyon carver? You know, it will dance, but it's a little bit of a reluctant dance partner. In other words, it's more of a bike that you'd want to take across country than necessarily take into the canyons. But if you do take it into the canyon, you'll be surprised. And what's great is it's got tons of torque, so that when you come out of the corner, give it a little bit of the BMW beans, it really pays dividends in terms of just how it hooks up. Modern bikes are stuffed full of modern technology, and that's a really good thing in my book. I've been riding in the rain, and luckily this motorcycle has a rain mode. And what that means is that when you roll on the throttle, it doesn't break the rear tire loose. It knows when you're hitting a corner based on the amount of lean that you have and based on the direction you're going, so the traction control intervenes, and it makes riding in very difficult conditions a little bit more relaxing, certainly a lot more safe. So it's a lot of technology going on.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that you don't know it's there.
Yeah.
You know, it's just doing its thing, and it really comes in handy in an emergency. You know, something runs out in front of you and you panic, and you stomp on the brakes really hard. The bike is designed to make the best use of available traction to get you either going or stopped.
Yeah, one of the classic things, of course, about an RT is it doesn't die. When you hit the brakes, it stays perfectly level. Some people like that, some people think that's a little weird. I kind of like that, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, the telelever suspension. You know, there was a time when the telelever was absolutely revolutionary because suspension was always a slave to your settings, what you've told it you wanted to do, and you could never set it for every situation at once. Now that suspension is dynamic, now the suspension can adjust itself, we're seeing that things like the telelever are getting less and less important. That being said, it still feels really good on this bike. You're really basically separating braking from suspension.
It's one of those bikes that the faster you go, the more you want to go fast. New for this bike, of course, is automatic leveling, right? So before you said 3 different settings. It was like high, low, and in between. Now the bike kind of checks out how much you weigh. Yeah. And then based on kind of your weight, it actually adjusts itself. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know, the suspension's always been sort of a dark art for people. Yeah. You know, knowing what is happening to the bike when you turn the crank and sticking screwdrivers in slots and making adjustments, we're all afraid we're going to blow the bike up. And unless you really understand it, and the electronic stuff is making it so much easier. Now it generally does it itself.
So what does the RT and the GS have in common? And of course the answer is right here. 1250cc horizontally opposed boxer. And you can tell it's a new 1250 because it's got kind of this L bend in the cylinder head. Now style-wise, there are of course a bunch of different colors you can choose from. I do like this red color. This is a classic touring bike, so of course you get goodies like lockable storage compartments, which will hold a helmet, and of course all of your stuff, and will keep your stuff dry, which is a really nice feature. And I love the fact that they're actually integrated into the bike. You also get, check this out right here, complete stereo controls, and if you're so disposed, you can even activate Sirius XM radio so that these 2 huge speakers with this style can blast your favorite Sirius station. So whether you're into chill or reggae or hard rock, you can listen to your music while cruising down the road on the new RT.
And I love this bike because I'm really comfortable on it, but I can still throw it in and out of turns really aggressively.
And it's got a lot of torque, so when you're coming out of that turn, you can just gently roll on the throttle and you can feel it hook up and kind of bring the back end around.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know.
It feels really good. Yeah. You're kind of making me want to go ride right now.
Now if you're jonesing for an RT, it starts at about $18,500, and then depending on what model you get, and there are a lot of different models and a lot of different colors with a lot of different options. And perhaps my favorite option, which now comes standard, is actually hill hold. So if you're on a hill, you can actually hit the brake and the bike won't roll back. Really cool, but they start at about $18,500. And then if you get all the bells and whistles, it goes up to about $25,500. Of course, you can probably dress it up to go even higher than that. So is this bike worth, let's say, that of a Honda Accord? Well, if you're going to be going from Maine to Miami, and you're going to be hitting rain, and you're going to be hitting sunshine, and you're going to be cruising down the highway, and you're going to be hitting curvy bits, and you're going to be hitting slick roads, it's great to know that you've got the technology, you've got the smoothness, and you've got the power, and most importantly, you've got the comfort to do that not only in style, but in a lot of creature comfort. As always, this is Roman reporting for the Fast Lane Off-Road. Check out tfloffroad.com for more news, views, and of course, on-road bike reviews. I know we're all about power sports, so I know it's not an off-road bike, but it's still here on TFL Off-Road.